how do you like the fact that everybody in Washington, D.C. is a Democrat? Let me prove my point. And by the way, I don't like it. Okay, it's why I vote the way I do. So go back to 1963. That's when we passed the 23rd Amendment, which gave Washington, D.C. 3 electoral college votes in the presidential election. So the first election they got to exercise that was 1964. LBJ beat Barry Goldwater, the Republican. In Washington, D.C., he took over 90% of the vote, and so all 3 votes went to the Democrats. Well, we've had 13, 14 elections since then. Guess how many electoral college votes in total have gone to Republicans in that time? 0! Not a one. And the funniest election to me is 1984, greatest landslide victory of the Electoral College ever. Ronald Reagan defeated Walter Mondale, the Democrat from Minnesota. The count was 525 for Reagan and 13 for Mondale. 10 came from his home state, which he barely won, by the way, and of course the other 3 from Washington, D.C. Now here's a kicker on that. Mondale, now, all of America said they wanted Ronald Reagan as president. Right or wrong, they all said we want Reagan. In Washington, D.C., over 85% voted for Mondale. Just shows you how out of touch they are with America. So who is Washington, D.C.? Number one, it's tons of government employees, bureaucrats. I'm not talking about DMV workers and street cleaners. I'm talking about 6-figured, highly educated people who think they are elite and smarter than everyone. They're the ones pulling the levers of power in that place. And then you have the lobbyists, and a lot of those are ex-politicians, get a job making gazillions of dollars, and you represent foreign nations and big, rich companies, and the whole point is to go after more money from taxpayers and more advantages for your clients. Then you have what I think is the greatest scam of ever, which is the private contractors. Those are the companies and the players that go after the government bids, for all this stuff. You realize that when the government passes something or they come up with a new welfare program, the government doesn't carry that out. They hire outside companies to do it. And here's the kicker. Of all the money we spend on helping out the illegal immigrants or all the sick, the hungry people, all the welfare programs, 70% of all the money that goes for that stuff goes into the pockets of the private contractors. It's all legal. It's all legal. And even worse, they have no incentive to solve problems. I mean, why would they solve hunger when they make money off people who are hungry? African Americans, hear me on this one. They could pass reparations tomorrow. Whites have to give this much money for blacks to pay for our sins of slavery. Get this in your head. You will never see a penny of that, even if they get trillions. All of that money, guess where it goes? Washington, D.C. And they'll promise you, we'll have plans and programs and all kinds of cool initiatives for you. Like Department of Agriculture's got 200, feed the hungry programs. They'll add 20 or 30 and some other things. You won't see a penny. So why do all these people vote Democrat? And by the way, many of them are not Democrats in what they believe. But when they hear things like, Green New Deal, health care for all, free tuition, they are salivating because all that money that will be drained from American taxpayers will go to Washington, D.C., and they then will benefit. I'm voting for limited government. I want to put people in there that's going to take money away from that place, protect our money, and reduce their power. Join me.